with all due respect.
All right, recording in progress. That means we're recording, and we are in the progress of doing so. With all due respect, with Josh and Gray again today, we're here with Sean Jacobs. And I tell you, from the beginning of our podcast, I knew I wanted to have you on. I know we've been on similar podcasts of people that we know before. We've had, physical therapy talk, but there's so much of that. Oh, you're going to bring a physical therapist on. You're going to talk about health and wellness and blah, 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 blah. I feel like that's been done, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a conversation we all hear. If I looked up, if I Googled a podcast with physical therapist about physical therapy, I feel like we'd get a ton of them. And I want to do something different, right? And what I wanted to do today was really talk about the establishment of physical therapy. What's good physical therapy? Where does it fit? The medical model, the cash pay model, all these things. But first, the way I got to know you, Sean, and correct me if I'm wrong, is uh I think Jason Brunson and some of those people knew you that I know. Oh, I got a shirt on, believe it or not. Look at that.
There you go. Look at that.
Yeah, look at that product placement, Jason. Um, and knowing enough about physical therapy to hurt myself, and knowing being in the strength conditioning industry, I know what I'm looking for a physical therapist. I know what I want from a physical therapist with the kids I train, the athletes, and the adults I work with. I didn't want that 4-on-1 in and out, popping out, no paying attention, don't know what they're doing. They have a sheet of paper, blah blah. I needed hands on. And then I met y'all, and then I became your patient. Neck surgery, arm. I mean, dude, I can't tell you how many times me and I'll text Sean. He's like, "Did you break yourself again?" I'm like, "Yeah, broke myself. I broke it. It's broken, Sean. Fix it." Right. To the point that like you now do jujitsu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Right.
love it. I love it. Yeah.
I tell people they're like, how do you know Sean? It's like, well, he's my physical therapist, and we started sending all these broke people to him to do jujitsu, and somewhere along the line, he decided jujitsu was good for him.
Heck yeah, man.
I
Heck
know
yeah.
that doesn't even make sense. It's like telling people to go drive this car that breaks down, and all of a sudden he's driving that car. I'm like, I don't know. I figure I've sent you like 7 or 8 people that have completely broken their bodies doing jujitsu, and the next thing I know, Sean's like, I think I'm going to start jujitsu. I'm like, where inside our relationship did you see the benefit? Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like,
Dude.
dang, but you love
Dude.
it now.
Yeah, dude. Oh, for sure. I'm sure we'll get to this here in a little bit.
Yeah.
And this kind of it aligns with my views on physical therapy and in general, what are we meant to be doing with these bodies that we have, right? I love you guys' podcast. Have to say that right up front. You guys talk a lot about the nuances, not only the physical stuff, the personal training stuff, but also just like the outside stuff, right? I just think that like I don't want to leave any part in my mind that's like wondering what my body's capable of, right? So I've dabbled in weightlifting, I've dabbled in powerlifting, I've dabbled in CrossFit. I mean, I found physical therapy through CrossFit. I've always been interested in athletics, and when I say dabbled, I mean like dive head first, go all in, go like for a certain period of time and take that as far as we can, right? So Josh, I met you through, I mean, working with, I came down here for gym. I've never been to South Carolina before I came for the interview. I spent one day at this clinic and was like, I guess this is where we're going. You know what I mean? I've been down here 7 years. So you knew Jim, you knew Jason.
Yeah.
Jason obviously kind of worked right in the same clinic as I do. So obviously that's just it's a relationship that was always kind of, bound to happen at some point. So I started, talking with you about jujitsu. It's always, I mean, it's grown in popularity so much. And I guess I kind of got into it back in, 2018, 19, saw a couple people from there. Chapman was kind of the last straw. Like he came in because he had a little neck thing, and
Yeah.
we worked with that, and I was like, dude, I've got to check this out. Like I'm not gonna be working with people and not know what they actually go through on a daily basis, right? So I'll go try it out, see how it goes, and I mean, you get bit by the bug, and now you're just into it, right? So
What did you
4
learn
years off
about
of
people? What did you learn about jujitsu by going from a physical therapist who's seeing all these people to going and doing it? Like, how did that make you? I mean, did it make you a better physical therapist?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think like I want if I go see a physical therapist, I want that physical therapist to know what it's like to take their body through what like if they can't deadlift 405, that told me that they've never been through the training to deadlift that, right?
Mhm.
So it's
Mhm.
kind of similar with jujitsu is if I'm going to be working with these people, I just want to see what it's like. I want to know how does it feel to just be on the ground for an hour? How does it feel to drill? How does it feel to hard roll? How does it feel to be put in these positions? And like, what is an injury versus what is just a like a normal just cost of doing business type of thing, right? And that's kind of what I've been going through. And some of the, I mean, there's a lot of hard learning lessons of just like the general soreness that you get with just by normal training versus what is actually injured and what can you do to prevent that.
I
Yeah.
respect that so much too. Josh knows this, that like I personally won't see anybody to work on myself, like to work on my body if they
Mhm.
don't train in some kind of similar way. So as soon as you said that you had started doing jujitsu, my mind was like, he's going to know exactly what it feels
Yeah.
like to be
Mhm.
taken down to the mat, what these guys are feeling like when they're coming into their office. And I just think, not only does that make you a better athlete, but it also makes you a better physical therapist to be able to
Mhm.
be in that environment. So I think
You
that's
also
really
learn
cool.
the mindset.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You learn the mindset. For instance, I have a very good friend of mine that started with jujitsu with me. He's a black belt now, old grizzled black belt like I am. And for the last 5 or 6 years, he's taped his thumb together before he does jujitsu because he's torn all the ligaments that his thumb just falls out. His like thumb
Yeah.
pops out, and he tapes it like this, so he can just
Yeah.
do this. And he never got it fixed. He just goes in, tapes it, and goes. And he's absolutely incredible. Like he's
Mhm.
phenomenal at jujitsu. And I think what you learn is, and we can weave this into physical therapy, is telling a population of people to just stop doing what they're doing and then they'll get better.
Mhm.
That does not work anymore. Because I've talked to orthopedic, we can talk about, the whole orthopedic, like if you've had an injury, never squat. And you're like, that doesn't make sense, doc. That's old thinking. We're
Mhm.
done with y'all. Hopefully you guys are all retired and the new group comes in. Um, and you said you said to me, and I always ask you the magic question. I go, Sean, this happened at jujitsu. He goes, all right, what's it like? I said, this is what it's like. He's like, yeah, it's probably like a grade 2 MCL. I go, okay.
Mhm.
How long until I'm 100%? And I ask him that question all the time. And he's just like, I said,
Yeah.
Sean, I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you
Yeah.
how long. And the
Mhm.
last time I did it, because I had a hamstring that was real bad, like a hamstring that was like one of those hamstrings that like I took the wrap off at work, and like I
Mhm.
asked a friend of mine at work, I go, the athletic trainer there, I was like, hey, is this hamstring bad? And I turned around, the intern goes, oh my God. I'm like, oh, like I'm like,
Yeah.
ah, like my
Oh, was
head
that when it
dropped.
was
Yeah.
bruised? When it
And it
was
was
so
bruised
bruised?
all the way in the
Yeah.
Mhm.
calf and the calf,
Yeah.
and the bruising was all the way
Mhm.
down. I go, hey, you guys look at this real quick and let me know how bad this is. And
Mhm.
the intern just like, I'm like, dude, you got to improve your bedside manner if you're going to do this. Because he goes, oh my God. And I went, oh, my head dropped. And I go, that's not good.
That's bad.
And I
Yeah.
had an MCL thing. And Sean goes, well, 6 weeks if you quit jujitsu and just go into rehab, 12 to 18 if you keep rolling through it and just
Mhm.
train through it. And I go, so 12 to 18. He goes, yeah, because you're not
Yeah.
stopping.
Yeah. No. No. And that speaks to me on a spiritual level. I mean, that's like the type of people who are just like they go till the wheels fall off and then they're just trying to screw the wheels back on as they go, right? Not
Yeah,
stopping. That's the
yeah,
beauty of it.
yeah.
Like if you have something that's bad enough to keep you off the mats or out of the gym, like we have to respect that. That's just so rare. You know what I mean? Like there are times, there are places for it. But I like to have those conversations because I can give you like the textbook answer of okay, we know from a tissue healing time frame this is going to take blank, right? But what do we have in the meantime? So with your athletes, it's
Yeah.
do they have a game coming up? Do they have a season coming up? How much time do they have to dedicate to like time off the field, shutting it down versus what do they need to be doing right now? And that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of the nature of like that's where the model kind of we need to be taking those things into consideration as well.
So you're basically with everybody, right? Like,
Hmm.
I don't care if you're a general hobbyist to exercise. You're not going to look at somebody all the time and go, you need to stop exercising,
Yeah.
right? Because when you look at the old physical and when you look at the old physical therapy model, it's bands and little weights and
Hmm.
you know e-stim and these modalities and light stretching, send them home.
Mhm.
And now when you go to a really good what I call a good physical therapy place, 70-year-olds are learning how to trap bar deadlift.
Mhm.
We're overhead pressing people. We're farmer walking people who had hip surgery, right? We're strength training people as a modality used in physical therapy, which is outside of the norm of what people think physical therapy is.
Mhm.
And can you talk a little bit about where you saw that change?
Yeah. So I've been a licensed physical therapist for 7 years. I was in PT school for 3 years prior to that. I did my undergrad for, 4 years and took a gap year. So essentially I've been doing this for what, 15 years now, kind of in this general field.
Mhm.
And the thing that's crazy is like it doesn't seem to be changing in one direction. It seems to be kind of polarizing, right? There's still
Oh,
the old school stuff. There's still old school mentality. There's still a lot of clinics that are kind of double and triple booking people. And I want to hit on that because there are nobody gets into this field unless they're good people who want to help people, right?
yeah,
That is
yeah.
something that is super, we have to get that out there. And like, I'm never going to discourage anybody from wanting to help people.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of things in place that encourage kind of mediocrity. And they just make it very hard to want to show up to work and actually kind of, bring it every single day. Um, so we're kind of heading in this polarizing field, right? We have a few kind of select minority clinics and clinicians and educators out there who are kind of pushing it in the what I feel is the right direction. That is my bias. That's what I do. And then we also have kind of, the people are kind of staying the same. So as we go farther in, kind of a progressive direction, we have this field that there's a little bit of a gap that's still there. So I guess what long way of saying that we're swimming kind of up the river, and there's more and more people that are becoming aware that there's kind of a progressive way to do things, and we're slowly, one person at a time, one clinic at a time, and all the while insurance companies are trying to kind of pay, less and less and discredit that. So it kind of
Mhm.
feels like there's a little bit of like not necessarily, or maybe urgency is kind of the right word, because we're getting paid less and less as a profession, and therefore we need to be better and better every single year, and we need to be showing people how effective we can be at helping them accomplish their goals and dealing with injuries, and also just kind of like moving from surviving to thriving in that field. So there is a little bit of, I hope I answered your question on that.
Yeah, no, I think you're seeing as we get older, as people get older, you start to put together what I call like your little health team.
Hmm.
You have a personal trainer, maybe you have somebody that has nutrition. Um, and I'm starting to see more and more that a good physical therapist that you trust that walks you through these things is there for you. Because one thing we've been able to do with you is say a client or an athlete gets hurt. Um, in South Carolina, you can see somebody for 30 days without a doctor referral and get insurance covered, right? Is that how that works?
It's it's 30 days without a doctor's referral, but then at the end of that 30-day mark, the law actually recently just changed so that now we can refer them to a physician, and it actually extends our direct access a little bit. Yeah, it's really
That's
nice.
cool.
It's really, really good stuff.
When
So
did
we
that
can say
pass?
That,
like weeks ago,
I was
maybe
about
a
to say, I
couple
haven't
months
even
ago,
heard of
something like
that.
that.
That's
Yeah, it's
awesome.
very new. I really hope that I didn't just step in it and say
no,
something that was out of pocket there. I'm pretty sure
no,
like,
no.
that's the That's the operation that we've been going on with that, which is really nice, unless they're covered by a federal insurance. So
Okay.
Medicare, TRICARE, things like that. Like
Yeah.
when you've got federal insurance, things change.
Always gets
But
hurt. Yeah.
yeah, private, anything else is direct access, which is like what we've been fighting for years.
Yeah.
Mm.
So when you say, and again, you said maybe you just didn't step in it. Maybe this is asking you to like squash your foot in it again.
That's all right.
What's it mean to say
Lean
you can refer them to a doctor? Is it orthopedic,
Yeah,
primary
anybody.
care, anybody,
Yeah.
right?
Hey, our direct access window is up at this point because you still feel like you need physical therapy. I need to refer you to a medical practitioner, MD, DO, any of the PA, even those types of if you have a primary care, it's easy to just say, hey, I need you, like, here's a piece of paper, let's both sign this to say that we went over it. I need you to kind of consult that person and tell them you're coming to a physical therapist. Whether they go or not essentially is kind of up to them.
You
as
know
far
why
as
that
I'm
flips
concerned.
the script? You know why that flips the script? It's
It
now
helps a lot.
it's now advantageous for orthopedics and doctors to be proactive to create relationships with you,
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
as opposed to you always trying to create relationship, because you guys are a private facility. You're not tied to a hospital.
Mhm.
So your relationships are what do it. If you're a physical therapy tied to a hospital, and I say this to people all the time because I I speak my mind when it comes to what's best for a kid.
Mhm.
I don't apologize for that. If I think where you're getting referred to sucks, I'm going to tell you that place sucks. And I'm going to tell you that there's multiple people that have gone there that will tell you it sucks too. And that's not what's best for your kid.
Mhm.
I even preemptively get ahead of it. I said, hey, here's the deal. You're going to go to this doctor.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably going to have, the MRI is probably going to show a sprain, right? And they're going to send you to a physical therapist. They're going to say that the best one for you is the one at this place. That's the place that they own.
Mhm.
That is a conflict of interest. They're trying to keep you in-house so they can keep billing your Blue Cross Blue Shield private insurance over and over and over again and keep you in the loop. So when you come back and get hurt again, you're getting your MRI, then they're going to say, oop, that didn't work. Got to get another MRI. Now you got to get this. Now you got this appointment. Now you got this. Now you're back into the physical therapy. Now you're come back through it again. And you're going through the loop.
Mhm.
Okay. They want that because it's financially advantageous for them to do that. Unfortunately, it is of my opinion that that person is not the best physical therapist. We have people better. We get better notes from them. We have better communication from them. There's not a gap in the relationship, and they're one-on-one. You guys are one-on-one physical therapy.
Mhm.
And 100% of people that follow our advice are so thankful that they've went to that place.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, to the point that they tell their other friends, and the other parents are like, oh my gosh, that's not what we're getting, right?
Mhm.
An easy tell-all sign for me, and I've never been into Ascent, so I don't know what it looks like, but an easy tell-all sign for me if it's going to be a good physical therapy place or not is if there's a squat rack inside or some kind of weights
Hell yeah.
inside. If there's some there,
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, they know what they're doing. That's
Yeah.
like my easiest sign.
Yeah.
It's actually, so we have squat racks positioned strategically so that when you walk in there, that's the first thing you see.
I
That's
love
Jim.
it.
Yeah.
Jim's
I
the
love
man.
it.
Yeah, he's got that
Yeah.
down pat.
But it's so
Yeah.
smart. And I think the
Mhm.
fact that you have a background as well in strength and conditioning, it only makes it a better approach to somebody's care. And I don't know how many physical therapists are like that, but I can tell you a ton of them don't have any experience in weightlifting, and they
Yeah.
won't load you when they
Yeah.
come in for treatment.
Education under the bar, right? Like
Oh, for sure.
education under the bar. And the reason I bring that 30 days up is there is a model that we have in sports where kids get hurt, we send them to the orthopedic, or we talk to their primary care to get a referral to an orthopedic. Okay. In my opinion, orthopedic's job is to do surgery, right?
Or
And
assess for whether they need surgery
or
or not.
assess whether they need surgery,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
And you, when you need surgery, you get orthopedic, and they're very good at doing, um, at cutting and screwing bones and all those things they do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but some people need to realize that the issue they're having is not an orthopedic issue. We're going to save you a ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
Here's, I'm going to save you a ton of money. I'm going to get you in with Sean,
Mm-hmm.
and he's going to do an assessment, and you're going to realize you just have a sprained ankle.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need an X-ray. You don't need an MRI. You don't need that second MRI. You don't need that follow-up. You don't need all that billing on your insurance. You're going to see a guy who's going to tell you whether or not we need to get to the point that that's our first point of entry.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
Mm-hmm.
not that doctor and then the X-ray and then the MRI? You can very much assess somebody and be like, you have a grade 2 ankle sprain and you got to do
Mm-hmm.
A, B, and C. It's probably going to be about 6 weeks, right?
So for sure. And you know, it's funny you use the ankle sprain thing. You also don't need that boot in most situations, right? Like if you want to talk about like there's a whole movement called choose PT first. And that's because the number one thing that we do when someone comes in for an evaluation is we triage and we figure out, is this person having shoulder pain or are they having a heart attack? That's what the doctorate is for, right?
Mhm.
It used to be a master's and a bachelor's, and you could kind of like, you know, pick and choose your way through to depending on what level you wanted to work at. We said no more. We need if we're going to have direct access, we need to be able to tell if this person needs imaging. We need to be able to tell if this person, we don't order the imaging. We can send them and say, hey, you have something we can't deal with. And that in today's day and age, with the average physician's visit lasting like 6 to 7 minutes, that we're the quarterback for health teams at this point. And that's not by design. That's not ego. That's nothing other than other healthcare practitioners do not have the time nor the financial incentive to spend time talking with people like that. So we're the ones going over their entire medical history and correlating that with their symptoms and trying to figure out, does this person need to go see an orthopedic, a neurologist, a radiologist? Who do they need to go see? You know what I mean? Do they need a therapist? That's a lot of the conversations that we're having in the clinic. So yeah, if we have a case that like athletes are honestly the easiest because it's pretty, you know, usually if they get hurt, someone was around to tell you what happened and kind of verify the story, and we're able to get on top of it really quick. And there's kind of an inherent value in getting back on the field as fast as possible. So we at Ascent, we work one-on-one with a doctor of physical therapy at all times. If you Google one-on-one physical therapy, that is in every clinic's every clinic comes up with it, because technically at some point you are speaking one-on-one with the DPT, so they can kind of call it that. But we're one-on-one only. We don't have other people kind of taking over and everything like that. So that gives us the opportunity to reevaluate every single session and make sure we're progressing and we're on the right track.
How
So
is that different? How is
that's
that different than the other? How does that differ from the regular model people see? What do they see in the regular model?
Yeah. So I worked in my gap year after undergrad while I was still applying to PT schools. I worked as a tech in a big chain, and my experience. So we had we had teams. We had a DPT, a physical therapist assistant, which is most people do. Most people do like an undergraduate, but then it's really an associate's degree, and a lot of people just get their associate's degree right out of high school and they become a physical therapist assistant. So that person, so as a DPT, I can kind of like manage that person and help supervise that person in working with clients. And then there's a tech. So a lot of times in my experience as the tech, I was in charge of taking people through exercises, coaching movement, kind of like progressing things to an extent. Like the physical therapist would say, here are their exercises for the day, you take them through it. And if something wasn't right, I could either go grab the physical therapist or I could just make modifications on the fly.
Okay.
Small modifications, but modifications nonetheless. So that DPT is technically in charge of three patients all at that exact same time. And that's just a lot to manage, right? Coming back to what I said, all good people, all very well intentioned, and a lot of them just don't know that there's kind of like a more individual and better way on all parts to do things. Again, better in my bias, but I really like and now as a DPT, I want to be one-on-one with a patient all the time, right? I don't want to have to worry about if Susan is doing okay on the bike over there because I set the timer for 20 minutes and I see her nodding off, like I want to be working with my person, and every single set, every single exercise, is this the right thing to be doing? That's kind of it right there. Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's some economics that come into play, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because within that hour, you're with one person, or 45
Mm-hmm.
minutes, however long. In the other model, you could put 4 people through in 45 minutes. And if you're a
Mm-hmm.
hospital, you're like, wait, we can make 4 times the money?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then do 4
For sure.
people, right?
Yeah.
There's some economics in play. It reminds me of I don't know if you guys have seen the old movie, the old Jerry Maguire movie, when he writes a memo and the memo says less clients, more personal attention.
Mm-hmm.
And he's up at 3 o'clock in the morning doing this memo, going to the copy place, getting it, the guy that does the copies, and the guy's like, that's the way, man, hang your balls out there. And I don't know if you guys remember that movie or not, but
Mm-mm.
the guy that said that is actually the lead guitarist for Alice in Chains, believe it or not. But uh, he gets fired.
Mm-hmm.
He gets fired for the memo
Hmm.
because he said less clients, less money, more personal attention. And he got fired for that. And the movie's all based around the guy who's like, he's like, dang, I grew a conscience after I grew a conscience and I ate bad pizza and grew a conscience at 3 o'clock in the morning, wrote a memo from the bottom of my heart, and I got fired because I should have just kept being that guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Should have just kept being the guy that made money. And you go back to the fact that people do this because they want to help people.
Mm-hmm.
And then they realize they also got to make money.
Mm-hmm.
And then most people get compromised because now they're like, crap, I got a business. I have to keep doing that. Or you're a hospital executive and you're like, wait, we have 3,000 square feet and we're making X amount and we could be making 4X amount. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that's an easy decision.
Mm-hmm.
Just start running people through, running people through, running people through.
Mm-hmm.
And I I don't know if I can't blame the technician or the physical therapist as much as I blame
Mm-hmm.
the hospital executive who's like, our reimbursements aren't coming through. We gotta get this, we gotta pump them through, buddy. Like they're done at 1 o'clock, not 1:01. You gotta see your next person, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we fall victim to that,
Mm-hmm.
right? In the hospital environment. And that's a shame, right? And the only reason I bring that up is I don't want to blame somebody. I just think,
Mm-hmm.
man, they really don't make it advantageous for you guys sometimes to really take quality care of somebody,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And the exact flip side of that, because I want to, like, you're right about all of that, but it also makes it so easy to stand out. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
For the people who give a shit, and
yeah,
the ones of us that are out there like going for it. And that's, I mean, it's at the end of the day, when you're fighting the fight that we're fighting and kind of, working uphill. Like, I mean, Jim started this company. I came down here and jumped on board because I believed in the vision. And at some point, you got to have him on if you haven't already.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, he's
yeah.
he's the
He's great.
absolute man.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, the reason that we do that, and the reason that, it's conversations like this that reinforce the fact that we're doing the right thing and I'm doing the right thing
yeah,
in my own personal career, because it's a personal choice at the end of the day, right?
yeah,
Is I want to set myself apart in providing excellent care. And at the end of the day, like financially, you could make more money going and, being a manager or running, being regional manager at like a big chain and kind of, a bunch of clinics and stuff like that. But I think I was, I have a very, very good skill set for helping people in a really fast period of time. And I love the fact that it is so stark in contrast to what other people are doing. I just like that, better or
yeah,
worse. I don't really care. It's my
yeah.
personality. And you know
Same
what I
way.
mean? Like,
Yeah,
so as we start to bring more awareness to that, ideally we attract more and more like-minded individuals. So we start to kind of break off and form a bigger sector of people who are providing that top level care and pushing physical therapy in the direction I think it needs to go.
hmm,
Because I think there's always going to be like healthcare versus sick care. There's always going to be a place for just kind of like managing illnesses and managing that type of stuff. I'm not that, I mean, I am interested in that, but also like I want to be doing the healthcare, the proactive services, and really helping people kind of, grow and thrive essentially.
Yeah, there's been so many kids too. You send somebody to that chain, right? Or that hospital
Mhm.
in place. And you're like, hey, call this. The doctor said, call this guy. You got an ankle sprain. And all of a sudden I get notes back and they're like, yeah, I'm going to him 3 times a week for 6 weeks.
Mhm.
And it's kind of like that, not all chiropractors are bad, but it's like kind of like a chiropractor that you go into and you just
Mhm.
need an adjustment, but they tell you need to come 5 days a week for a year and it's going to be 15 grand, right?
Mhm.
Um, and I've gone to you with a very similar kid, and you said, what are you going to do? I said, no, man, we're going to come in. I'm going to assess it. All right, I need to see him one more time or 2 more times. We're going to dry needle it. All right, reset the system, and then I'm going to show him 4 or 5 things that he needs to be doing daily, and then I'm going to email you the notes, and then you guys implement that, and we're good. I never need to see him again.
Mhm.
I mean, think about how much money you just saved somebody
Mhm.
Mhm.
from getting caught in the system of doctor, MRI, X-ray, physical therapy, 6 week. And now there's people that need that. And I know you would be
Mhm.
honest and say, hey, I'm probably going to need to see this kid like 2 days a week for about 4 weeks,
Mhm.
5 weeks. Like, I don't think this is a deal. Like, right?
Mhm.
Um, the role in that I see is very powerful. And I don't remember up until maybe 4 or 5 years ago even having that option with physical therapists.
Mhm.
Would
Yeah, I
that be
think I think
true?
I think what we do is very unique. Um,
Mhm.
and especially the relationship that we have being in this small town and like in my opinion, a good trainer, a good strength coach is a physical therapist's best friend because now I can say like, here are the things that I need you to do. Here are the things that are going to help. And I'm confident that they're going to help because of the assessment that we did and the interventions that we try and hear. This is the way to progress these exercises. You have supervision, you have someone who knows what they're doing. Go do it. Come check in with me so I can make further progressions and I can check in with your trainer. I can check in with your strength coach. We can do these things together. You don't need to be in here all the time. You don't
Yeah.
like, if you don't need, I want you to be in here as few times as possible, even though I like hanging out with you. Like, just go do your thing, and
Yeah.
that's going to get us back faster. There was this statistic when I was coming up in school that nationwide home exercise programs are only like up to 50% maximum with compliance because people just won't do their home exercises. People don't do their home exercises if they don't work. Like, if it's not valuable to them, they're not going to do it, right?
Mhm.
So who are we kidding? Like it's the physical therapist's fault you're not doing your exercises because either they don't understand why they're doing them or they're not the right exercises. I mean, that's just like I could go off on a tangent there, but
Yeah.
that's my
I love
thoughts.
a tangent. I think the biggest
Mhm.
thing is too that, Josh and I started this podcast and for, having people like you on here when we talk about professions is giving somebody the power to choose that route, right? Like
Mhm.
knowing what it looks like to have a good physical therapist, to have a good personal trainer, to have somebody that's knowledgeable not only about your injury, but also how to maximize your performance. That's the most important thing. So if we can give people a voice for that and tell them, that hospital system that you're going to, it doesn't have to be the norm. You can step out of that. You can go somewhere else because that's the mindset I think that sets people apart is when you said, I don't want you here. Like, I like you. I love hanging
Mhm.
out, but I don't want you here. I don't want to be like,
Mhm.
same with my clients. I'm like, I love you, but I don't want to be your coach for forever. I want you
Yeah.
to be
No.
here
Yeah.
as long as you need to. And then I want to
Mhm.
let you go. And I think that's such a big difference between the people that are in this, with money on the mind versus having like the best performance and the best results that people can have.
Mhm.
Talk a
Yeah,
little
and
bit of good. 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 No, go.
I was just gonna say like, and that's a little bit of where kind of we're heading towards. I want to be able to offer people um the services that they want that are totally like proactive and like voluntary, like those
Mhm.
people, like if you want to come in and you want to be like super, you want to have assessments that are preventative in nature, yes, come, I want you to come in. But for athletes who are just injured, like our kid who had a stinger that turned out to be like a nerve injury, like I I need you in here this many times. I want to get you back to doing what you want to do as fast as possible, and we're going to play that game, and we're going to do everything we can to every day counts in that situation, right? Getting
Mhm.
back for the last couple games of his senior year of
Yeah.
football, that means the world to everybody, right?
Great.
And
This is a
that's the
kid.
difference there.
This is a kid that doctor said he's probably done playing.
Oh, that was how
And
I found
and
my guy here with I had a really bad stinger and I had to go get that
yeah,
figured out.
and
But
he
I
had a
like
really
that.
bad
That's the
stinger
worst.
and had a really bad neck issue. And the doctor's like, yeah, you. I mean, I remember a kid in tears in the office
Mhm.
going, I might be done. Oh, it like shakes me up, right? Because like if
Mhm.
somebody told me like, hey, you're
Yeah.
done, and I was told I was done doing jujitsu when I
Mhm.
because I had neck surgery and the orthopedic, and I know this, I know enough at the time, right? When the guy's like, yeah, you should probably never do jujitsu. I'm like, sweet dude, I'm paying you just to
Probably
put
not gonna happen.
I'm paying you just to put that thing back together, and then
Yeah.
I'm paying the other guy to wake me up, right? That's all I'm doing, right? I'm paying two people. The guy to put me to
Mhm.
sleep and wake me up, and you to fix it. I'm not paying for your opinion. I'm gonna do jujitsu again. I'm not worried about you. You don't mean
Mhm.
anything. But they said, yeah, you're probably done doing jujitsu. Like if there ever comes a time that there's done doing jujitsu, I mean, I'm pretty sure that like like I'm gonna need like severe intervention, right?
Yeah.
Um, Emotional intervention. But I mean, I remember the kid in tears, and he's like, I might be done. And then I said, okay, you're gonna go to Sean, we're gonna do this. And Sean goes, he goes, yeah, I don't think that's true.
And that's
I
how it
don't
is
think
for
that's true.
most cases. You know, there's
Yeah, you're right,
I
right.
think there's very few life altering or sport altering injuries that are going to keep you out of exercise. And I try to
Mhm.
remind my clients very frequently if they are injured, there's normally something that you can do that won't piss off your injury. Like a
Mhm.
client that's dealing with an ankle sprain. Okay, there's plenty of things that you can go and do that will involve exercise. That way you don't lose your momentum, right? Like I think telling somebody that they're done or they need to rest is the laziest form of advice that you could ever give someone. That's like, get out of
Yeah,
my office. I
yeah,
don't like it is
yeah.
what it is, right?
Mhm.
Whereas when you have a trainer or your physical therapist that can work with you on this stuff, they're like, I'm going to give you the long approach. It's going to take time, but we're going to get you back to 80% of where you were,
I think
90% of
I
where you
think
were.
one of the approaches, Sean, that we really are fighting, and I say the industry, I'm kind of merging what you do and what I do kind of together a
Mhm.
little bit.
Yeah.
Um, we are really fighting a group of doctors who say you should never squat and bench and you should never do a lunge again. Or the group of doctors that say, hey, you might have this issue. You need to brace your back for 8 weeks and do nothing for 8 weeks.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's the doctor or if that's the lawyers talking sometimes, right? I think that might be the lawyers talking, like little CYA, cover your ass, right?
Mhm.
I don't know how much of that. I have there could be some lawyer talking there. Um, but I don't know. I've never seen somebody, and I know we have a mutual friend, um, Eric Wilson, if you remember Eric, um, who was like, you'll never do anything ever for the rest of your life with all the back injuries he had. He's lost like 60, 70 pounds. Now he's rucking and he's exercising.
Yeah.
And he's a guy that I was like, hey, you need to go see Sean. He's like, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And then a month later, I was like, hey, did you go see Sean? He's like, oh, no. And then finally he got bad enough. And I'm like, I didn't hear from him for like 6 months. He called me and was in almost in tears, bro, because he's like, complete blessing that
Mhm.
I met Sean and Sean goes, I think I can help you. I think you can still do all the things you want to do. And
That's so cool.
and it's gonna suck and it's gonna hurt, right? Because the
Mhm.
common thing is like you're gonna get people out of pain forever. No, the pain's gonna be there. We gotta teach them to
Mhm.
manage it. And now that dude is like rucking mountains and killing things and dragging them out and moving, losing weight, right?
He's going hunting out
He's
west
going
in the
hunting
mountains.
out
I'm like,
west, right?
That's so cool.
And
yeah.
I get and I'm fighting this fight with people when I get a 15-year-old kid who says, hey, I had, you know, an issue in my back, but doctor says I can never do A, B, C, and D again.
Mhm.
I don't know, man. That's real frustrating.
Yeah, I try not to let it get to me, to be honest.
Yeah,
It's
you
because
know,
if
like,
I did, it like it would like it would ruin my day. Because it's like
yeah,
how many examples do you have of people being written off and coming back? Like Eric is the craziest, most ridiculous thing. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I saw him a couple days ago. I still talk to that guy.
Oh, did he? Okay.
He's I mean, he's shooting bows and he's like he's doing all this like got into archery and he's like,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know if I can coach football anymore because it's going to get interfere with hunting season. I'm like, like what?
yeah,
Dude, who are you?
Like,
yeah,
That's awesome. It's so like
yeah.
I mean, yeah, but so here's just how I think about that and what I told Eric. It's like, why? why can you not, like, why, what, like, no, let's break it down. Next steps, why? What is the next, what, like, okay, so you can walk 20, you can stand for 20 minutes before you have to sit down. Why can't we make that 30? If we can make that 30, why can't we make that 60? If we can make that 60, like, that's just how I think about things. I'm like
Mhm.
annoyingly optimistic with people. To the point where I'm like, if this isn't your jam and you don't like this, then that's fine. You're like, I'm not for you, because I'm willing to work with this as hard as you're willing to work with that. Eric put in, was it 9 months of like, I mean, severe pain every time he
Yeah.
tried to stand up straight, to now rucking and shooting a, like, I mean, I think back fondly on the exercises where we were working on just pulling a bow back, and that position is literally the position that he can't stand up into.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just hilarious that we're like overcoming so much, and it's just such a cool success story. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's like
Eric
why?
is an amazing story because like
Mhm,
there was some they tried to mask it for years with opioids and pain pills,
mhm,
Of course.
and he struggled, um and I mean I remember when I did his podcast and I'd had conversations that he'd call me, dude, he literally like almost called me in tears, like, I'm going hunting. And I'm like, wow, how? He goes, I finally saw Sean. I go, yeah, it took like 6 months for me to be like, because he every time he complained to me, because he coached football
mhm.
with me, and every time he complained to me, I'd be like, did you call Sean yet? He's like, no. I'm like, all right. Then he'd complain, did you call Sean yet? No, okay. I'm not gonna do this all day, bro. Like, I'm not. So there's only so many times you can complain to me, and I give you the
Sure.
solution before you become white noise to me. Like
Mhm.
Mhm.
I don't care what you're saying anymore. Don't talk to me about your back. Like, in fact, I'm going to push you down on the ground every time you complain to me, and you're going to have
That's
pain getting
evil.
back up, right? Like, right? But
People,
there were so many stories of that because the old model broke,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm,
and now we have this new model.
mhm,
And the new model is so different,
mhm,
right? It's like you said, it's thriving, not surviving.
Mhm.
mhm.
Um, where do you see it going? Because in the email you did like 1.0, 2.0, 3.0,
I know, I
4.0
wanted to
physical
talk about
therapy.
that.
Yeah. Where do you see
Uh,
it going?
So, where the 1.0, 2.0 comes from is the continuing ed company that we support and we got to do most of our training through is called the Institute of Clinical Excellence. PT on Ice is essentially kind of their tagline, and they do such a good job of being like a fitness forward type of brand, and all of their continuing education, no matter what it is, say like cervical spine, lumbar spine, extremity management, older adults, it's all through the lens of the the 1.0 version of physical therapy, where we were just kind of like putting people on ice, tens machines, ultrasound, managing pain but not really improving anything, not challenging our patients, just kind of like mailing it in a way. Maybe they didn't know better back then, but we know better now.
Mhm.
That was 1.0 and that didn't work. That's why insurance views us so poorly. That's why physicians think they own us, is because we're essentially just like the people that, stretch people out after surgery. Like, some physicians don't even like us working with their patients because they think we do damage. um 2.0 is being more fitness forward and getting people better than they were before they got hurt, because that person got hurt. So we got to figure out what it was that kind of got you into this mess to begin with. We got to work on it from a holistic lifestyle approach, and work on chronic inflammation, work on the things that we know we can control, and address all those things as much as the patient is willing to do. So I know you guys talk a lot about just diet, weight management, being healthy in general, and that is such important stuff. And it's hard to talk about. It is like, I mean, it like, I joke I'd rather talk religion than nutrition sometimes, because it is people, because people just like, the minute you start talking about it, like defenses go up and it becomes this thing. If we can convince people that that stuff matters, that's going to make big changes in people's lives.
Mhm.
So that's kind of like, and that's kind of what they call 2.0, is the physical therapist that is ready to tackle those things, and not just like work on someone's neck or fix somebody's tennis elbow, but able to help people change their lives for the better if they're willing to do that. What I think about, and I just kind of shot you my thoughts as I was spitballing a little bit. If we're going anywhere from that, it's going to be more proactive and more preventative, I think, because even with the physical therapist model that we have now at its best case is if we wait for people to come in, if we wait for physicians referrals, we're still waiting. Where that person is still kind of going through it. What I view myself as doing by communicating with people like Josh about their athlete. How many times when I see you at jiu-jitsu, how's the team doing? How is
Oh, yeah,
everybody
yeah,
doing?
yeah, yeah. How's kids doing?
And
Yeah.
like, I don't care if they're hurt. I want to make sure they don't get hurt,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
We
yeah.
talk about what their strength training looks like, and he bounces ideas off of me. I want that to be more the norm, and I want to help people and find a model that people are aware they can come in here before things go awry, before they gain 100 pounds, over the last 20 years, and now all of a sudden they have no idea how they got in this mess, right? Let's not get in the mess to begin with. That would be a good place to go, I think.
Do you see we have spoken in the last couple podcasts around the change in culture in fitness and wellness in the last 6 months or so, maybe 3 months or so. Um, Definitely since COVID, that we've learned that nobody's coming to save us, right? You are your own responsibility. You are responsible for your own health. You cannot rely on doctors. That's sick care. That's not health care.
Mm-hmm.
Um, our model is based around keeping your numbers within a range and keeping you from dying, not making you thrive. We don't equip kids anymore on how to stay healthy and well and the importance of nutrition and exercise. We there are people trying to do that, but I feel that like the culture's changing, right?
Mm-hmm.
People just don't want to be like they just don't want to be alive. They don't want to just be alive until they're 85.
Mm-hmm.
They want to thrive up to 84 and then right?
That's
Right?
what I want.
At least I
Take,
do.
yeah, take me out.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Like dude, I have
Yeah.
real issues emotionally dealing with the fact that like days on the jujitsu mat are I mean I was walking down the stairs a couple days ago now, so I've been sick this week, right? So don't go to jujitsu when you're sick. Like you'll get beat up. They'll beat you up on purpose to teach you a lesson.
We about to
Jujitsu
start a therapy session.
Jujitsu has
What's
a way
life
to
without it?
yeah, right. Jujitsu has a way to manage. Jujitsu manages the room, bro. A violent sport like jujitsu, I don't care what people say. They'll tell you it's the gentle art. Is it the gentle art, Sean? It's not.
It's
It's not
awful.
gentle. It's horrible. It's the worst and
But you
greatest thing
need,
in my
I'm the
life.
same way. I need something
Yeah.
horrible in my
Right?
life to
It's
remind me I'm
it's
still alive.
it's
Yeah.
horrible, right? Like I've woken up with like skin removed off my nose and like all that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not the gentle art, but like there are really times that I'm just like I was walking down the stairs being sick this week and I go, I haven't rolled all week. And I went, I literally have a thought popped in my head. It goes, your time is limited. And I'm like, where did that come from? Like, who who said who
Yeah.
said that? Like, was that Helio Gracie from the grove from the death
Yeah.
grave that went, your time is limited in jujitsu and then like left?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm fighting now with people like you and Gray who helps and Mike Wines who helps and all these people who help. Like I'm at the point now that I'm just like I'm trying to hold on to the last bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I have worked out for 25, no, 30 years of my life.
Mhm.
Like it has been exercise and fitness and wellness and nutrition and I've lived it. Imagine somebody who's never had that.
Yeah. I
And
do think you're right, though. I think it's changing. I think
it
people
is
your age,
changing. Yeah.
Josh, like your age is not as common, but I just had this conversation with a client this morning that I think people my age, I don't know how old you are, Sean, but I'm assuming around my age. I think people our age are really changing the way that they live life. I think there's a
Mm-hmm.
huge uptick in taking care of ourselves. And I think part of that is probably that we're very exposed to a lot of things. Like having, the power of social media at our hands, we're seeing
Mm-hmm.
people that are taking care of us optimally. We're seeing what proper physical therapy looks like, a proper strength training, whatever. I think that we are able to then take all of that information and apply it to our own living.
Do you see that affecting your like? Are you getting more people coming to you as older ages going, I don't want to be 65 and sitting on the couch all day?
Mm-hmm.
I think more people are aware there's another option, but
Yeah.
again, I think it's polarizing again. Because if it was really changing all for the better, we wouldn't be seeing obesity numbers and diabetes skyrocketing, right?
Yeah.
So I think we are seeing a bigger proportion of people who are taking more charge of their health and their life, and they're not just waiting around. But also, like, if you don't do that, we know where you're going. You
Mhm.
know, if you just allow yourself to kind of like eat this standard American diet and exercise when you want to, and kind of like just give in to the comforts that we have, I think I think we know what that looks like now. I think
Yeah.
so. I mean, in one respect, I do agree with you, because we are seeing more and more people taking charge and stepping up and really kind of like diving into it.
Mhm.
I also try to remind myself how big of a bubble I kind of live in with
Oh
when it comes to
yeah,
this
so
stuff, because
true.
I do
everyone
too.
I talk to, everyone I interact with, everyone that I like, pretty much most people that I deal, like, even the grocery stores I go to are health-based grocery stores. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, so I think you try to hold those two thoughts simultaneously,
Mhm.
and
Definitely.
spread the awareness to the general public as much as possible. Make it exciting, make it enticing. But yeah, you're right. I don't. Um, I want to, skid into the finish line on four bald tires and an empty tank of gas. I think John Welborn said that, and it's like,
Oh,
I'm
wow.
not my goal out here is not to die with no scars. That's
Mhm.
John Welborn's thing. So, with all of these good health communicators and these health coaches and the Hubermans, the Peter Attias, and
Yeah. Yeah.
like, I love that stuff. I get down on that stuff. I know that the number one rule for longevity is don't get hurt, but also, like, I want people to kind of, push it.
Mhm.
So fine, like, there is a fine line right there between don't get hurt and, hey, you actually need to be out there kind of living your best life, right?
Mhm.
So really, like, that's kind of how I see it, is find the thing that excites you, find the thing that interests you, and really just, go as hard and as smart as you can on that thing. And we know how to make people live healthy and longer lives, and it's just a matter of kind of, picking up those habits and settling in for the long run.
Hey, man, I know we're on time limit. I want to thank you for coming on. And I think it's
Of
long
course, man.
overdue. And
Mhm.
hopefully we can do more and get Jim on here and do more. I always have great conversations when we talk, even when we're at jujitsu. I know you kind of turned into the guy at jujitsu. They're like, man, my ankle. I'm like, Sean.
Dude, I love it.
They're like, man, my fit,
I
Sean.
love it.
It ain't me,
Yeah,
Sean.
yeah.
They're like, hey, should I roll tomorrow? No, Sean. No, I don't do it. Ain't me. Go talk to Sean. He's over in the corner, bro. He's that dude in the corner,
Oh my
breathing
gosh.
real heavy right now. Looks like he's dying. That's the guy I
Yeah.
got to talk to when he's okay.
Always dying.
Yeah,
Always
bro.
dying.
I appreciate it, man. We'll
Yeah.
talk again.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, man.
It was a blast. Yeah.
Thanks.
With all due respect.